All right. Don't pull it up full screen yet.
That's what she said. Hey, welcome. Good morning. I'm the Data Lord. This is Jaime. Welcome to Decentralized TV, Crypto and Coffee, where we talk about crypto and drink about coffee. And I hope everyone's doing well. I had a really solid weekend. Spent some good time with friends and family. Hope everyone else got some time to do the same. If not, what the hell's wrong with you, man? Go hang out with your friends. Art thou not social? So interesting charts we have today. This week's going to be a fun one, in my opinion. I think we're finally going to see something snap. After that little Bitcoin bull run we had.
Yes,
of course, it was a micro bull, but it was still bullish.
It was worth the show.
Yeah. So Bitcoin as of today is still flat. Along with everything else except for XRP, people are still getting hyped on that news expectation that XRP is going to be ruled in favor of, I think. And as far as the weekly goes, XRP's people, again, are just really bullish on a good ruling for XRP. Bitcoin also, I think a lot of the bank FUD caused people to go, maybe I should have some more money in Bitcoin. And I think that's what caused that run up there. Ethereum, in the same way, is kind of used as like these are the big cryptocurrencies, so we'll just get some. And that's fine. There's a lot of SDK stuff that happens in Ethereum. It's good for development. And it's got a lot of integrations. Cardano's also got a lot of news, I've noticed. Just being someone who is in the news day in and day out, I think they pay for a lot of people just to write articles for them, but I don't know that for sure.
It's called marketing. Don't spend on development, just pay marketing guys. They'll do it.
Yeah, why do that? We'll just copy other people's code and put it in Haskell and then pay for marketing. Let's see. So Solana also over the week has been moving up. I think everyone's just kind of bullish on NFTs in general. Interestingly, Litecoin, we're starting to actually see Litecoin pair again with Bitcoin's price movement a little bit. So interested to see if that keeps up. Because I think Litecoin being a big proof of work in the first place probably does have more value than a lot of people probably attribute to it.
Also Taproot is coming online.
Right.
So I think that's where Litecoin
for the
is.
NFT stuff.
Yes. So
a lot of the things we covered about how you can put NFTs basically on Bitcoin. I think that's probably going to become Litecoin's new use case.
Yes.
I think people will do it less on Bitcoin because they want to keep it fast, but we'll see. Anyways, Jaime, if you'd give us an explanation of what's going on with Bitcoin, huh?
Heck yeah. So as we spoke on Friday, what were we watching for? For freaking Bitcoin to stay above the 200 weekly moving average. And look, guys, it didn't even come close to tapping it, which is a great, powerful sign. It created this indecision candle, which is fine. It has a longer wick below, meaning there's a lot more buying pressure than there is selling at the moment. So this is a bullish indication of, hey, we are now on the point of confirmation that we are above the 200 weekly moving average. Why is this so important? Let me remove all these drawings. Bitcoin has never, ever closed below, here we go, below the 200 moving average ever since inception, up until this time period where we've been at. Well, it did a beautiful run up right above it. The big question, which we wanted to watch the weekend homework for everyone, was, will it stay above the 200? Well, yes, it did. So what that means now is now Bitcoin can really come straight back down, tap on it, even wick below it, but it is likely that it stays above, which is a confirmation of strength. So if we zoom in a little bit further, and this time I will show the screen where we need to be. I just zoomed in on the 3-day chart. And if you notice, it stayed above, very close. We broke through the first cinder block. Now we're going to try to penetrate the second one. So we still need to pull back a little bit, guys, but we pulled back. We did not pull back where the target would be, But the fact that we stayed up there is a bullish sign. Now, on the short term, we have confirmation that there will be a pullback. Why? If you look down here on the strength, this is the relative strength index, you can see that it was very strong down here. The price continued rising. It took a dip and now it's hovering up here. Yet there are bearish divergences, meaning that the strength is coming down for a push up. There may be a slight push up, but I don't think it's going to be strong enough to break through. Having said that, this is confirmation of a short-term pullback. There should be a pullback. As long as we stay above this 50 moving average holding at 20,500, we should be fine. And even if we wick below, we're good. As long as we do not close below 19,500, which was this previous higher low right here, where I missed it by 59 bucks. Remember that? I won't forget it. So this is what we're looking at for this week. Now, on the long term, on the high time frame, let me move over to the monthly. This month of March ends on Friday. Look at the monthly level. We are straight above the 50 monthly moving average, and we hit that resistance wall, which is this red finger that we have here. This is what we're going to be watching for the end of the month, which occurs on Friday night. If Bitcoin stays above this 50 moving average, which is currently sitting at around 24,000 more or less, all we need is April to stay above the 50 for confirmation that we are now in not a bull run just yet. The bull run won't commence until we cross this line and test a support, but it does show strength, meaning we may have found our bottoms. We're talking about probabilities here, so I'm giving you what the probabilities are. So the short-term probabilities is we're pulling back for a nice punch through the second layer, this big ass layer up here of cinder block. If we break through it and stay above it, guys, we're good. It means that now once Bitcoin settles, we should see an altcoin and all the other shitcoin run up with it. Otherwise, I still have my buys way down below. But still, the probabilities right now are short-term pullback for a reattempt to break through. The banks, the futures in banks are settled right now, are settling. There seems to be a buyer for a few of these banks. Regrettably, they're not going to have the crypto aspect of it as part of the deal. So it's part of that choke point 2.0 effort by government agencies and the central banks to cut off crypto from access to fiat. But we'll speak about that later. So the markets are settling. The big question is, will it run up for April? At this moment, we should see a slight pullback. And that's it. That's where we're at. Short-term pullback, long-term, and we'll know by Friday, will we break through or not? As long as we stay above that 50 monthly moving average, it shows strength.
Yep. All that's my opinion as well. Even doing my own analysis, we clearly got rejected. That's not to say we can't have black swan events because Bitcoin's a freak of the sheets. But I can certainly tell you that it's highly probable Jaime's on the nose.
And if there's an announcement of some other massive bank, Deutsche Bank was the last big boy to trip over itself. Then if we see another bank run, you can bet Bitcoin's going to react positively. It seems finally it's showing, because this is the first event after 2008 where we're seeing bank runs or bank shortages. So that means Bitcoin is performing as programmed.
Yeah, that's great, man. So just talking to the chat here. What's up, guys? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Also, if you are new here, interact in the chat on YouTube. We do respond and answer questions and give shout outs. So wanted to give a shout out to Indo Crypto. What's up, boy?
Good morning.
Morning, DC TV fam. Gundy says yo. Gundy's saying that the Litecoin is actually pretty solid. Only other acceptable crypto. Yeah, it certainly has a serious hash rate. Like it's been
Yes.
around since Bitcoin early on days. So Bitcoin's older, but it's certainly a fork, and it was an early fork.
And they run
Gandhi
tests
says
on it, so it has a use
they
case.
do. Yeah, Gandhi says he's loving the TA here, and
We aim to serve, guys.
and
We
you
aim
know
to
you should
serve.
open a burger joint according to Indo because you got that sauce, boy.
Hey,
Oh,
Tam,
what's up,
good
Tam? What's
morning.
up, girl? Spot on. Someone called on. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a running bet, by the way, for those of you that don't know. Tampa
Don
and
Fran show.
Don Fran show are have an open bet on how low Bitcoin would go, and it seems that Tampa's in the lead. Just Bossy, good morning.
Tam's crushing it. What's up, Just Bossy? I see you. I see you. And what's up? Good morning,
Boston
Boston.
CEO. Good morning.
So let's read the news. We got some cool news today, actually. So U.S. prosecutors slammed Terra Luna founder Do Kwon for 8 counts of fraud for 2022 crypto collapse. So this is a pretty big, meta news that's happening in this space because Terra Luna was huge, and a lot of people from all the fundamentals were in Luna because it looked really
Venture
solid.
capital
And
was in it. Quite a few
man,
heavyweights banks.
yeah, so this is really heartbreaking to see Luna go down in flames like it did, but also it's cool to see at very least like the story's not over. There's more to it. So and this can inform what happens to some of the other cryptocurrency projects that may follow a similar pattern. So that's why we're covering this. I'm not particularly interested in gossip, but so yeah, it looks like Do Kwon, who's the guy who started Luna, with 8 counts of fraud for 2022 crypto collapse. Let's see if this is fact or FUD. Let's go ahead and read. So, federal prosecutors in New York have filed charges against Terraform Labs co-founder Do Kwon hours after his arrest at the Podgorica. I've never heard that word before. Amazing. Airport in
It's a
Montenegro. I know, but I love it. It looks like a Pokemon. The 12-page indictment from the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York shows that Do Kwon faces 8 counts, which include conspiracy to defraud, 2 counts of commodities fraud, 2 counts of securities fraud, 2 counts of wire fraud, and conspiracy to defraud and engage in market manipulation. The U.S. also seeks for the forfeiture of Do Kwon's assets linked to the offense charged. So here, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams says, the defendant shall forfeit to the United States any and all property, real and personal, that constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the commission of said offenses, including but not limited to a sum of money in the United States currency representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offenses. That was a really boring way to say, give us your money.
Everything you own.
Yeah, Do Kwon went on the run after Terraform Labs Luna token and Terra Luna UST stablecoin collapsed, causing over $40 billion in losses. CBS News reports that Montenegro's police apprehended Kwon while attempting to board a flight to Dubai using a fake Costa Rican passport. The country's Minister of Internal Affairs, Philippe Adzik, announced the arrest on Twitter, and South Korean authorities later confirmed the crypto fugitive's identity based on photographic data and fingerprint information. Kwon is currently detained. So this is where we covered everything above that, but he's currently detained in Montenegro. So that's new information. Bloomberg reports that both the U.S. and South Korea, the 31-year-old's native country, which issued his arrest warrant in September, seeks his extradition. So
yeah, if he's extradited, I think it's going to be Korea. He's a citizen of Korea.
I think so too.
Yeah,
the U.S. has to just put its face in the middle of it, just be like, hey, we're important too. But yeah, it's probably a South Korean thing, honestly. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Anne says Anne was really big in the Luna community, so she's got a place to say something. He's arguably already beaten the same charges in South Korea that SDNY is charging, and their track record of crypto charges has been abysmal at best. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, fact or FUD. I always, you're innocent until proven guilty. We have to maintain that posture. So,
and those of you that are involved, have been in the crypto space for a while, you'll remember that it was an attack on the conversion that was occurring. So it was an external attack
on the
from
algorithm.
someone, yes, who knew where the Achilles heel was before it completed the entire transition to the algorithmic leveling. So yes, that's where, and I'll let you, this is probably the best case scenario long term, in my opinion. Let him have his day in court, deal with his judgment, and everyone can move on. Unless he is proven to have pocketed the Bitcoin that was for the UST peg, he will beat this by a landslide. So if they do demonstrate that he ran off, saved his ass, and let the community burn, that's where you would see some. But he did lose, and this was an external attack on the UST algorithm. So, and I remember there are some reports that SBF had indirect or direct implications on that initial attack. So a lot's going to come through this year in 2023 with stablecoins and scams and all that. So it's
just hang out here. Just hang out here. We'll cover it. We'll laugh about it.
Yes, or cry.
Be like, well, Bitcoin doesn't do that. So, anyways, thanks for all the input there, Anne. Anne was a whale, so she's got a place to say what's what. So our next article here. Mike Novogratz calls for truce between Bitcoin and Ethereum communities. So Mike Novogratz is a prominent investor and former hedge fund manager, recently urged for unity between Bitcoin and Ethereum communities. So here he is looking like Mike Judge. He really does. He looks like he made King of the Hill or something. So damn it, Bobby. Prominent investor and former hedge fund manager Mike Novogratz recently called for a truce between the rivaling BTC and Ethereum communities. In a tweet, Novogratz questioned the polarizing mentality frequently seen among cryptocurrency enthusiasts, emphasizing that both BTC and ETH boast robust communities, that's true, that believe in their respective digital assets' future and are prepared to invest significant wealth in them. All that's true, verifiably. The discord between the two factions stems from the distinct value propositions and application of each cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, often viewed as a store of value, and digital gold competes against Ethereum, which aspires to be a decentralized platform for a variety of applications and smart contracts. Yeah, they're not the same thing. And that's
precisely. They use
exactly
blockchain.
The line.
They use blockchain as their consensus, but come on, they're different purposes. So why the fighting?
Yeah. I think the fighting comes from people saying that all crypto is crypto, and it's like, well, that's like saying that like everything with wheels is can transport. You're like, yeah, but a Ferrari and a shopping cart are different things, right? Like,
or a truck. Once
they're
for
different
building,
things,
construction.
buddy.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah,
different purposes.
But then again, we could hang it with Gundy. We could get a Harbor Freight engine, put it on a shopping cart, and we could race them. So let's go. Bitcoin, often viewed as a store of value in digital gold. I've recently come to the point where I don't necessarily agree that it's digital gold, and here's why. Gold, we could mine more gold. We could find an enormous amount of gold out of nowhere.
This weekend they struck more gold. So
hypothetically, that could happen, right? And it could just keep happening, right? Like we could find Atlantis is built completely out of gold, and all of a sudden that's in supply. Just for example, so as opposed to Bitcoin, we know there's 21 million Bitcoin. There's never going to be more than that. There's probably going to be less than that in circulation because people are going to lose their keys. But there's only going to be 21 ever minted, right? So, whenever you have one Bitcoin, you have one of 21 million Bitcoin. And it can only get sweeter for you by holding that value. As opposed to gold, like if you hold 1 ounce of gold, people could do a lot of things. They could put zinc inside of it and wrap it. They could find some
like the Australians.
There's another metal. I forget what it is. There's another metal that weighs the exact same as gold, and people have been wrapping bars with gold in that metal. But either way, like my point here is that Bitcoin is what gold is thought to be. But gold actually isn't as sweet of a deal as it seems to be. I'm not saying it's worthless, but it's not the same. So Jaime's looking that up. This rivalry is further fueled by the notion of flippening, a hypothetical scenario in which Ethereum's market capitalization surpasses that of Bitcoin, establishing Ethereum as the preeminent cryptocurrency. Responses to the tweet by the crypto mogul were diverse, with some social media users concurring that both cryptocurrencies can coexist and prosper. Others were quick to note that the strife has its roots in human nature, which frequently leads to divisions based on disparate beliefs. And that's tribalism. Humans are fundamentally wired just to like think in tribe of like, well, this is our tribe and that's your tribe, and our tribe has this ground and you can't claim it, right? And I don't think it has to be that way. I think we can recognize that like, no, Ethereum's not Bitcoin. Ethereum isn't the store of value that Bitcoin is. Ethereum can be a really powerful
Consensus. It's
distributed system for sure, at very least, right? A distributed SDK, it's great for that. So
yeah, and it's a means. So Bitcoin is
yeah.
peer-to-peer transfer. That's it. Store of value. Versus Ethereum, businesses can apply the same principles to their transactions, to a global public ledger that demonstrates their transparency. It's
Yeah.
different purposes.
And plenty of people can have their issues with Ethereum. Like, is it a distributed system? Yes, there's nodes all over the place. Is it decentralized? I don't know who owns the nodes, so I can't really verify that it's decentralized. I can say that it seems to be decentralized, but I can't guarantee that.
Right.
And we have some principled things like with the DAO hack. That's why Ethereum Classic exists. There's just some questionable morality as far as like editing an immutable ledger, right? And so, and it's not that cut and dry. I've talked with some Ethereum guys about it who defended it in a way that was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But, the point is, I wouldn't put, my children's future solely based on Ethereum. I wouldn't store my legacy money in Ethereum. I'd store it in Bitcoin. So
now, if you're in a business and they're going to implement blockchain technology, more likely it's going to be Ethereum where they put it. So if you're a business person and you're developing that's where it makes sense. Or you choose any other L2s.
Yeah, and there's other big integrations too with Ethereum. Like, I'll show you this. Like Microsoft Azure, for example, has Ethereum built in as a service. So you can do Ethereum blockchain as a service inside of Microsoft's Azure cloud. So like, just to give you a perspective of like how business focused it really is, like Microsoft is even trying to build tooling to just make it a no-brainer to develop a blockchain application. So yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Don't fight about it. Don't kids quit fighting. Stop.
He touched my Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's true though. And it may not all be fun and games, but this next article certainly is. Minecraft and GTA may yet change their tune on blockchain. GameFi execs speak. So it could be all sparked with just one Web3 success story. And I exactly hold this exact precedent. Like, all it takes is one single game implementing blockchain in a way that's not corny, that doesn't feel like a gimmick. It really just is the right architectural solution. Like, they're picking something that's just going to allow people to use their assets across different servers or whatever, and the person truly owns it and the person can truly sell it. And what's cool is that creates a marketplace that the game developers don't have to mess around with. That's the cool thing. The game devs don't have to mess around with it. But people are going to be able to sell like, gold shoes or something in Grand Theft Auto or like a mascot costume or something that's a rare drop. And so I think you're going to start seeing people trading like skins and maybe skins of weapons, skins of cars, that type of thing for like games like Grand Theft Auto 6 or Minecraft in some NFT form. And they're going to be able to use them across games like Grand Theft Auto 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Will, if they use this, be able to pull that into those new future games too. So you really own the stuff, right? So let's keep reading. While several mainstream game studios have taken a noticeable step back integrating blockchain tech, 3 blockchain gaming execs say it's only a matter of time before they change their tune. In July last year, Minecraft's developer Mojang Studios announced a ban on NFTs and blockchain tech. By November, Rockstar Games updated its website to stipulate the fan-operated servers for GTA 5 can no longer utilize crypto assets. Specifically NFTs. So what they're saying is like, Rockstar's like, hey, fan-made ones, you can't keep you can't plug in these mods basically. Walter Lee, gaming growth lead at BNB Chain, argues, however, the ban is more related to NFT activities than general blockchain tech, and thinks that once more regulation is in place to guarantee player safety, mainstream studios will warm up to the technology. And that's why we're waiting on this. We cover
Regulatory
the
clarity.
regulatory stuff all the time. And I know it
Yep.
can be kind of dry and boring, but it matters so much because once that clicks in, everyone who's building is like, okay, we can finally get people to fund this properly and move forward. Because right now, whenever we're talking with investors and whatnot, like they're kind of concerned about where the regulatory stuff is. They don't want to up, some big ante and find that like, oh crap, we just got rugged by some government agency, right? Like that's not a good way to spend your money. It's better to just kind of wait for clarity, maybe dabble in places where it's safe, and then once you get more clarity, get more bullish on some experiments. But yeah, it's been an issue kind of stifling the development in the space. There's still a lack of education and regulation around Web3. Therefore, some users and companies are still skeptical about benefits and scams that can often be associated with it. So Mojang Studios pointed to rug pulls surrounding certain third-party NFT integrations, along with NFT wash trading. Ugh, that happens bad.
Yep.
And issues around digital ownership as reasons for the ban. Jaime, do you want to cover what wash trading is real quick? Just so
wash
everyone's watching?
trading, in traditional markets, if you buy a certain stock, for example, and you sell it at a loss, just because it took a shit that moment. So you're like, you know what? Let me sell it out, put it on this other. And then if you buy it before 30 days, you cannot declare. And let's say you buy it even lower and now you made a gain. A wash trade, truly, you use the loss here to offset your profit on the next move. Well, if you do it before 30 days, that's known as a wash trade, which does not allow you to offset your losses, your gains with previous losses, if that transaction happened. So NFT wash trading, because there is no regulation, a lot of people were doing that and declaring that loss. So taking advantage of these drops to buy it back because it was the same guy trading it to himself. So that's it creates this perception. Oh man, there's a lot of transactions going on. This is real. Well, that's one of the things that they're trying to squash is this wash trading. So if you do 30 days, it's a more legit transaction than if it's two wallets that no one knows who owns them, and it seems like they're trading it. They're like, whoa, there's transactions. That's wash trading also. It creates this illusion of more activity than there really is.
Yeah, inflated volume, basically.
Yes.
Thanks for that. Endo says, this is an out there question. Can two blockchains merge? So can they
That's
merge? We've already seen migration, certainly. So for example, like Helium migrated to the
to
Solana
Solana.
network. That can happen. I think what's more likely is for the blockchains to exist independent, but
Yes.
to have a middleware that does do integrations. And Cosmos is really crushing it with the cross blockchain integrations. We're starting to see this happen more and more. I think eventually we're just going to have a standard protocol that allows them to work, as a middle layer. RPCs right now, like remote procedure calls, that's what most blockchains are using. And I think there's going to be something else that maybe lends itself a little bit better than just an RPC, because RPCs require a dedicated node. So I'm wondering what will happen. I know at some point there's going to be some infrastructure that becomes standard that allows you to integrate multiple blockchains and get them to talk, some sort of a middle layer that
But
maybe itself
merging,
is a blockchain, but yeah.
I don't think merging is, I mean,
You can
theoretically it's
migrate.
possible, but I don't think it's feasible cost wise, because you already built your own consensus mechanism in one. And with all these RPC calls, as Brandon said, now there's another one that has a competing. If you have conflicts, you can't merge it. So
Yeah,
it's costly to merge.
I think what's more likely to happen is that on let's use Cosmos as an example. You can have smaller chains on that blockchain, basically side chains. You could move it to that, right? And then it would technically be part of this consensus mechanism, but it'd be its own chain of history. So that's certainly possible. Good question there.
Yeah.
And it also says we saw a lot of NFT projects that used Minecraft servers have restructured due to Microsoft's ban. Most didn't make it. Yeah, the regulatory clarity is killing people. Like it's terrible, dude. But yeah, let's keep reading here. Lee believes player demand will ultimately tip the scale on blockchain tech in mainstream games. I totally agree. That being said, some game enthusiasts have a love-hate relationship with crypto, particularly when NFTs are involved. And I think this has to do with people being corny, right? Like, I think some people are like, we have NFTs in our game, and they just make it a gimmick. It doesn't actually add to the game experience, right? It just becomes like a crappy trading card game functionally. French gaming giant Ubisoft, who makes a bunch of bad games, by the way, man, they killed, man, like the Star Wars games Ubisoft pumps out, man. I don't know about that. Ubisoft Entertainment was forced last year to backpedal on plans to integrate NFTs into its games after player backlash. An October survey from Blockchain Entertainment provides Coda Labs found that traditional gamers weren't fans of cryptocurrencies or NFTs in general, though they didn't seem to mind NFTs used in gaming as much. That's really interesting to me. So it looks like NFTs, if they're done in a way that's just like, hey, this is just a certificate of authenticity, you own this asset, whatever, and the focus isn't like this is cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
whenever you focus on something someone's not really interested in, they're like, I don't want to learn that nerd crap. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm not into this whole Bitcoin thing. I think it's used for scams. I don't know, but I really just want to shoot people in Fortnite. Like, I don't really care about, I want to smoke pot and play Fortnite. And like that's just the demographic, right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
They can, like, that's their deal, but they're not crypto heads yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like adding a .com back in the .com era.
Yeah.
Oh, this was poo-poo scoopers.com. It's like, why?
You don't understand the market share. I sound like Alex Jones. If there becomes an increased demand from players for blockchain integrations, they will likely revisit their policies. I completely agree with that, dude. And actually, let's look this over. So the average perception of NFTs, according to a 2022 survey. So gamers are 7.3 out of 10. So they're actually okay with NFTs. They don't hate them. They don't think they're particularly interesting. They're not going to play a game because it has them. But yeah, it's cool. It's a plus. Crypto gamers are like even more so. Yeah, that's dope. But there's been some scams. There's still probably some appetite for people looking out for scams and things that are just kind of cheesy. And it looks like people who are under 40 are specifically interested in the crypto integrations. People over 40 tend to maybe not understand the tech.
Not me, guys.
No. my papa. So we won't talk about that. Crypto non-gamers apparently are super into it, and then mobile gamers are pretty into it. So it looks like we have some pretty good sentiment for NFTs in general. We just have to make sure they're not done in a cheesy, corny way, and make sure education's improved and people are not unclear as to what they are. So if there becomes an increased demand from players for blockchain integrations, they will revisit their policies. I think Unity Game Engine also just dropping in NFT integrations and blockchain integrations, that's a big deal. That's going to make it really easy for people not to make poor blockchain integrations, because blockchains is a whole new type of tech, right? Like, it requires different types of engineers and different types of programmers, and you may not have people who are used to that stack, and they may integrate it in a way that sucks because they don't quite understand like what they're dealing with. So I think it's healthy to have game engines integrate the crypto at that level, and that way the developers can just do what they do: make great games, make games that are fun, make great games that are beautiful to look at, and then let the blockchain piece just be outsourced to whatever the game engine is. That's probably what we're going to see. Grant Hazley, the executive director at mobile and Web3 game development company Wegu Games, told Cointelegraph that one success story is all that's needed to spark mainstream adoption. So AAA studios will change their mind once they start yielding true market share to Web3 games. It's just going to take one Web3 game to explode for the others to take flight.
Yep.
I'm shocked if Fortnite and Minecraft aren't the games, man. Those games have like so many different demographics attention. So, according to Hazley, mainstream hesitancy around adoption is out of fear. It will undercut the current business model of the consumer strictly paying for entertainment. That's fair, actually. and we talked about this a little bit with our announcement of the Unity game engine blockchain integrations, but like one fear I even have is if we put NFTs into some games, what if people stop playing the game? Like what if we threw this in World of Warcraft, right? Like what if people stopped actually focusing on raiding and the community aspect of it and the things that make it fun, and instead they just farmed to make money and sell stuff off, and it kind of like completely changes like the culture of the game. I think that's a fair concern to actually have. So I think small examples and small testing until we really understand how to integrate it into the economy of the game is probably the right move.
Yeah, without sacrificing the reason people play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So I won't even dismiss that. I think that's legit. They have a great thing going right now. The mobile gaming market, for example, breached $100 billion and is trending upward. That's awesome. If you can make a game on the fly and still maintain profitability without changing your model, why would you even consider something radical that could have lasting effects on your consumer base? That's honest, man. Justin Hulag, chief studio officer at Immutable Game Studio, shared a similar perspective, explaining that because NFTs and crypto fundamentally transfer ownership of digital assets from companies to players, it's unappealing for mainstream adoption. So GTA 5 became the most profitable entertainment product of all time. And by the way, I love this game. Me and my squad, we play GTA 5 all the time. And it's no secret that quite a significant portion of these profits result from microtransactions that contain in-game currency. Microsoft also introduced microtransactions in Minecraft some time ago. It's understandable that both companies would want to retain control of their in-game economies for financial reasons. According to a 2020 report from market research firm Juniper Research, loot boxes and other microtransactions relatable features will net gaming companies $20 billion by 2025. And if everyone would in the chat, let me know what do you think about games right now? Because you know how we moved to this whole microtransaction loot box thing. Like, do you like that? Do you hate it? What's your sentiment on that? I'm interested to know. We have just Bossy saying Assassin's Creed's good by Ubisoft. That's true, real talk. It's just the Star Wars games, they didn't do me right. It's a left-handed cigarette. Assassin's Creed for the win. we need a culture change on some games. Yeah, I think that's
And if
the
they
move, man.
fail to do those
Yeah.
culture changes, they die. So
That's what's gonna
you have a
happen.
good point, Boston.
It's about engaging the communities. Yeah.
Yep.
If anything, this can even be interpreted as both companies acknowledging that NFTs and cryptos are real-world assets with attached value to them that could potentially threaten their business model. While he does think it's certainly possible that mainstream studios will embrace blockchain tech, he thinks they will likely start with something like adding support for cryptocurrencies as a payment method for their game services. That's the right move. Like if I was their architect, I'd probably say, I'm not saying we shouldn't do these other things. Let's just start with a payment mode. I think that's the right approach. You start small, you pilot it, make sure it works right, and then you move along to other things. We have Indo saying, I enjoy free games, but I don't buy into the microtransactions. Yeah, from my perspective, I've certainly bought a bunch of skins in games I play a lot, but like whenever I have a game that I play that game. I'm not playing like 12 other games. I pick like 2 or 3 games maybe that me and my friends play together. And I'm okay buying skins and supporting that game because I'm playing it. They're giving me value. I want to give them an incentive to keep adding more content into that game, right? So, I will buy into those types of things. But I mean, the loot box things I don't do. The closest thing I probably got to that was Halo Infinite. Like they had season passes that kind of had some loot box type stuff, but yeah, I don't love the loot box thing. I think it cheapens games, and I really don't like this attitude of, hey, we can ship a half-assed game, say that it's live, and then just update it little by little. Like Halo did that with Halo Infinite, and I don't think that was the right move. They turned a lot of people off who expected a full game, and they got something that was cool, but they should have just defined what it was, not overcommitted, and then made everyone pissed off. So I don't know. Gaming's certainly going to be an area we need to focus on and pay attention to, because that's where young people are probably going to get their first foray into crypto. So
Mhm.
I think we should focus on making excellent end user experiences and inviting people in a way that's not cordy and doesn't screw people over. Indo says, I think they're missing, or maybe just not mentioning the fact that these companies would have the royalty collection per sale between players. Yeah, that's if they integrate it that way. But I
Which I think
personally
is because the NFTs, remember,
do the math on
there's
that.
a exactly. There's like a 5%, or it
You can
depends on
set it
how
wherever you want.
exactly where the rule is. So every time it changes hands, the creator gets a royalty, but also the company. I mean, it makes sense. They would, because this is their ecosystem. So,
Mm-hmm.
but they should be transparent about it. You're right, Indo.
I will do the math on that and build out an infographic just to show as a pitch deck a little bit to gaming companies, like, yo, if you did this, here's the money you're leaving on the you're making, you're not leaving on the table. So I agree that that's probably a perspective they should look at. So our next article here, NASDAQ says institutional appetite in crypto is steady as it plots push into custody trading. So custody trading, man, I don't
I
know about
know,
this stuff.
meaning not your keys.
Yeah, like,
Custody literally is
cool.
the same thing as, hey, if you trust banks that they custody your money so you can get it anytime, even during bank runs, you should trust NASDAQ and others that to custody your crypto, your Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
it's the same principle, guys.
Let's flip this into like food, right? Like, let's say you have an emergency food ration, right? And they're like, yeah, well, you can keep it in our storage. We'll keep it dry and safe for you. And you're like, great. So what if like there's an emergency and I need it, it's not in my house? And they're like, well, we'll get it to you. You're like, are you sure you will?
Yeah. Bank runs are no
Trust
joke.
us.
Any
Yeah.
run on
We'll
anything.
die from
Remember
that stuff,
toilet
man.
papers back in the COVID days? It was puzzling. Like, who the fuck needs so
Ballroom
much
blitz,
toilet
man.
paper? Yeah.
So
So anything humans, I don't trust
yeah.
custody by somebody
Yeah, I
else.
don't know about that. I don't know about that guy. So NASDAQ is betting its established reputation with helping it secure a strong place in the world of crypto. The 52-year-old exchange operator is wanting an approval from the New York Department of Financial Services by the end of June to begin offering custody to clients. Interesting. NASDAQ announced its intention to move into crypto following the collapse of Three Arrows in July, and has been pushing ahead even with the slump in cryptocurrency prices and the subsequent bankruptcies of FTX, Voyager Digital, Celsius Network, and more. Trust had started to break down a little bit, and they really needed that trusted player to come in. NASDAQ's head of strategy for digital assets told Frank Chapo on the Scoop podcast recorded in Paris, the turmoil led the company to reevaluate its decision to move into the space. We are on the right path. He said, having that foundational aspect of custody was absolutely critical. And we see institutions, they're not even backing away from the space, but they're actually looking for players like us to say, great, they know how to deliver it. And this is where we're specifically trying to fill the gap. We're trying to make sure that like everyone we work with is someone who knows the crypto space. And whenever people finally have an appetite for it, they're like, hey, you've been doing this for a while. Help us not screw this up. It's like, hey, happily, we want to on-ramp people. We want to give people power to the people, give them their keys, whatever. They've done it for 50 years. They're innovative in a regulatory environment as well. It's not easy. It's not an easy time to be seeking permissions from regulators to operate in crypto. US agencies have been consistently cracking down on crypto-related companies. Among some of the actions being taken in February, the New York DFS ordered a crypto infrastructure firm, Paxos, to stop issuing the stablecoin Binance USD. And last week, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission sent a Wells notice to Coinbase, notifying the company of an investigation into several offerings. NASDAQ isn't stopping at custody. The next step for us is execution and liquidity services. Execution and liquidity services. Interesting. And then we build on our anti-financial crimes so we can monitor this throughout the ecosystem. Can we talk about the Jaime?
Sure. It's banking. It's literally the know your customer. And like any stock, you cannot buy a single stock on this planet traded
Yeah.
on NASDAQ or any of these institutions unless you KYC. You put in how much you're, all that stuff, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, you name it. All these trading firms know your customer. So what NASDAQ is saying is, okay, we can custody this and we will build this where no trade will occur between two parties unless we know both sides of the trading aspect. So it's traditional finance. Now, from where I have the issue is the fact that they custody it, not me. We have the means to custody our own assets. And of course, if I'm going to trade in NASDAQ, I will, have to KYC, et cetera, which is fine because you want to stay within the laws of wherever you're at. What concerns me is that someone else has the keys to this asset. So for traditional people and traders and institutions, this is a great move forward because now they can offload that aspect because they trust NASDAQ that they will have the asset available to them if so required. But it's still a bank, guys. It's still a financial institution. So if there's a run,
Right.
it's there will be problems. So all these derivatives globally that buy gold, they're not buying the actual ounces of gold. They're buying a derivative of that. So it's IOUs in the end.
You got paper,
And
baby. You got paper.
yes, so that's the difference. The good news is that adoption is here. The fact that NASDAQ says, hey, man, 3 hours went down and all these others went down, FTX went down. We're trusted. We can fulfill the job better than those fools. Great. If it means boomers are willing to get into, or the big populations are willing to get into this because they're going through a trusted entity, fantastic. There's more adoption occurring of Bitcoin. But please understand what it means between you holding your own Bitcoin and them holding your own Bitcoin. One, they can take it away if there's any financial issues. They're
Right.
like, all this client freeze all his assets. They can do it, etc. So if you understand the difference and willing to, like I did, like in my case, 401k, I couldn't put in Bitcoin truly, but I moved it to GBTC with that risk that I could lose it all.
Mhm.
But it still allowed me to adopt Bitcoin into my 401k, albeit indirectly with
Yep.
all those risks. So understand the risks before you enter and make peace with those that risk when you make it. So if you lose it,
Right.
you made peace with it, guys. So that's all we'll say. But adoption, good. Custody by someone else, I don't like it. Maybe you do. That's
Yeah,
your choice.
it's fine. I'll just put my nuts on your table and hope you won't punch them. Like a squirrel. NASDAQ is hopeful that it will receive regulatory approval within the first half of the year. We're optimistic, he said to Shapiro, or Chaparro.
Chaparro, yeah.
Chaparro,
Which means shorty in Spanish.
You have a small boy. NYDFS is not a fan of crypto right now, but I will put a spoon under my pillow for you. That's the weirdest thing to say.
I've never heard of that.
Like, why would you do that? That's some sort of ritual. I don't know, man.
Let me find
So
the
he's a cultist. High five. You ever heard that?
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah. What you talking about, Willis? Anyways, banking deposits drop as investors climb into Bitcoin. So that's funny, man. People can clearly see
here it is.
banking's not the
Listen
move.
to this.
Yo.
It's a superstition. It says, well, the snow day ritual is this. It's a snow day ritual. On the night before a potential snowstorm, if you wear your PJs on inside out and put a spoon under your pillow, here's the result. You will have a day off from school the next day. Okay.
So it's a cult practice. Got it.
Nice.
Yeah. So banking deposits drop as investors climb into Bitcoin. So let's read this. United States Bank deposits dropped significantly between March 8th and March 15th due to fears of a banking collapse. On the other hand, Bitcoin increased 35% over the last 2 weeks. So data from the Federal Reserve showed the deposits at all U.S. commercial banks fell by $98 billion within that week, but rose $67 billion for the top 25 banks in the country.
They gutted the small ones to feed the big ones. Prop up the big ones, guys. Be careful.
This suggests that customers moved their funds from regional banks to banks considered too big to fail, signaling fear of a banking collapse. So, yeah, this whole idea that there is something that's too big to fail is why Bitcoin exists in the first place.
Yes.
Bitcoin
that's why I
exists
pumped.
because in 08, this already happened. You know, we had a huge financial collapse, and Satoshi saw it made sense for us to have something that no human could intervene in, right? It just exists. It will continue on as it has been, and it's not going to change its tune. And you can participate in that system as an equal participant, but it's categorically different from every other system on the planet, right? No one's a super user. This suggests that customers move their funds from regional banks to banks considered too big to fail, signaling the fear of a bank collapse. This behavior also underscores the concern that the government might not aid the smaller banks, and I don't think they will, especially if they are not considered systematically important.
Yep. And that was clearly stated between Yellen and a senator out of Oklahoma. That was the discussion. He kept at it up until where it's like, yeah, but does this mean that you're willing to back all the FDIC uninsured? And ultimately, she was backed into a corner. She's like, if they're not systemically important, if they are systemically important, then we'll back them up. Clearly stating anyone else, nope, you ain't getting backed up. So that was brilliant by this guy.
Yeah, so this is a mafia move, right?
Targeted.
So, and shout outs to all the good men and women in the mafia.
Watch your kneecaps, bro.
Yeah, that's right. This behavior also underscores the concern that the government might not aid the smaller banks, especially if they're not considered systemically important. Gemini co-founder Tyler Winklevi described the U.S. banking system as a modern caste system, where people banking with the top banks are protected while the rest are exposed to risk. And this has kind of been our position for a while now, that like the fundamental issue isn't like racial discrimination or isn't like religious discrimination. The fundamental issue is class discrimination. There is a class system. There are people who think that they're too wealthy to be bothered by peasants. I'm telling you, they're real. They exist. They pay people off to do things on their behalf. George Soros, he's one of these types. These people exist, and they don't like crypto if they don't control it. And so that's why they're trying to create some sort of counterfeit system that's like, yeah, it's crypto, but really they hold keys, right? Yeah, it's crypto, but really it's not decentralized. It's a distributed system they have back doors to. So keep an eye out for these types of people, because Bitcoin fundamentally spits in the face of this type of thinking. Bitcoin says, look, if you want to believe in the system while it's young, you'll be rewarded for that. And if you hold your funds here, you'll be rewarded for that, because you'll always have one of at most 21 million, right? You'll always have a known piece of that pie, and that network has never been compromised. So banks borrow at unprecedented rates. So meanwhile, the government and major banks move to calm nerves as not wholly eased concerns about a potential crisis in banking system. Several users are still moving funds out of small banks, leading the banks to borrow at an alarming rate to prevent bank runs.
That's terrible.
So the banks are basically borrowing funny money to be able to have cash at the time of request, just to keep solvency, but and in good faith, I suppose. So CNN reported that borrowing by small U.S. banks reached the highest rate since the turn of the century. According to the report, the banks borrowed $669.6 billion this week, but Analysts believe this is just an effort by the banks to prepare for any bank run and does not necessarily signal a current problem. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. U.S. investors pile into Bitcoin. So a look at Bitcoin's recent rally shows that U.S. investors had played a significant part in the price rise. According to Matrix Sport, head of research and strategy, Americans are buying Bitcoin with both hands. And I am, you are, maybe it's true. The guy in the mirror does, whoever he is. Thelian noted that 47% of the purchases that fueled BTC's price increases came from U.S. institutional players. And we've seen this too. Big companies are buying Bitcoin because they're like, what if the dollar does collapse? What do we do? Like, they don't want to be
It's a
caught with their
hedge.
pants down and lose their position, you know?
Yes, and lose their value too.
And keep in mind, the US dollar doesn't have to totally flop. It just has to stop being the world reserve currency. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't have the buying power it used to. And it'll be treated like a lot of countries' sovereign currencies where they have very wildly fluctuating value, right? So pretty interesting stuff here. Coinbase former CTO pointed out that investors usually exit devaluing currencies during distress. According to him, this is where the US dollar falls into presently, adding that he expects Bitcoin to replace it as the global reserve currency. And I sure hope so. Wouldn't that be nice if something no country owns is the global reserve currency? Wouldn't that be nice? During the banking crisis, Bitcoin has rallied to 35% in the last 2 weeks, as high as $27,944. Several BTC bulls have predicted the imminent collapse of the banking system and the possibility of flagship asset rallying to 1 million. Bitcoin's going to the moon. I'm telling you, like, you better be DCAing. Like, don't freak out at the price. Just DCA, dude.
DCA.
DCA. And every Friday, that's why we hashtag DCA Friday. Cause like, if you're not doing that, you're playing yourself. Gundy, if you can't control it, I don't want it. That guy in the mirror looks really old these days. Yeah, man, he needs to work out too. He's getting a little chubby, at least for me. I don't know. And the Saudis already refused the petrodollar.
Yeah, not explicitly, but yes, implicitly you can see that they're Biden went out there and they even mocked the old man. And also I've contacts and some family in the gold business, and the Saudis are dumping their dollars for solid gold. So it's way more than normal. Like they're even willing to pay a premium just to get rid of their dollars. So it's happening. The erosion is occurring. It's not fully visible on top, but the erosion is occurring, Gundy. So very, very incisive look on your side.
Right. Yep. Real talk. Well, if you love the show, show some love, smash that like button. We appreciate it. Also subscribe. You'll get notifications whenever we go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if there's special occasions, we'll let you know. I'm the Data Lord. This is Jaime from the bottom of our heart. We love you
guys.
With the Centralized TV, Crypto and Coffee. Till next time, keep coming, huddle on. Yeah,
that's right. And Gundy, it's bricks. You're right.
Yeah,
it's real. Bricks are real. Have a good one, everyone.
Have you ever eaten broccoli?
Oh yeah, my kids love it. Believe it or not.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, Buzz Dog.
Have a good broccoli.
Bye, everyone. See you Wednesday.